Titans minicamp got underway today at St. Thomas Sports Park. Pretty much everybody there in attendance. Everybody at least present and accounted for. Jeffrey Simmons did not practice today. Neither did Traylon Burks, and that continues to be a bit of a concern for the Titans at the #1 pick of this season. A guy that traded up for is still struggling in that regard to get on the field right now. But Derrick Henry is back for the first time this offseason. Harold Landry, Bud Dupree, Nate Davis. Saw a lot of guys for the first time, and that was nice to see. Derrick Henry in particular, I thought looked good on that surgically repaired foot. He seemed to not favor it at all, which I don't think you could say back in January when he first got off the field. And that makes sense because he's had time to rehab and get back in shape. Now for some other Titans talkings, including the second-year guys that need to step up for the franchise, we talk with our expert, Jonathan Hutton from Sunday Sports Central. Time to bring in our Titans insider, Jonathan Hutton of Outkick 360. Now, Caleb Farley played just 3 games last year, but looks like he should be full go come training camp. Do you still believe he can be a lockdown corner in this league?
Well, he's got to be a strong corner for the Tennessee Titans, Steve. Yes, I mean, his traits are elite. He's got to be healthy, first and foremost, to get there. I'm not saying he's got to be a #1 corner. He's got to be a major contributor. That has to happen. And he hasn't really played in 2 years. It is time for him to get healthy and not be a liability whenever he's actually in the game. They took a big swing by drafting him with the back issues. He's now coming off of the ACL. But whenever he is 100% cleared, he has to be locked in.
All the traits are there, but he's got to get healthy and get on the field. Now, we've talked about Dillon Radunz and how he fits in up front before. But when you look at last year's draft class, it's not just Farley and Radunz. It's really only Elijah Molden that had any role at all for this team. So how critical is it that Radunz and some of these other second-year guys become significant contributors this season?
No, it is a great point. It is extremely impactful to this roster. 4 come to mind on defense. Elijah Molden, you mentioned, Monty Rice, Rashad Weaver, and then Caleb Farley. We know Rice and Weaver can play. They were contributing before they got hurt. Molden's got to step up more in the starting nickel role this coming season. And then you mentioned Dillon Radunz. He's been working some at right tackle. We were saying that at this time last year, Steve, working at right tackle. I think they realized he wasn't ready whenever they had the joint practice in training camp a year ago. The joint practices this year between the Bucs and the Cardinals, that's where he's going to win or lose the starting right tackle position. He's in the mix, and he's maybe the biggest linchpin because if they can get something out of him, well, now they're rolling offensively. They can get some production defensively from last year's class.
A big week for Radunz and all those guys this week with mandatory minicamp. We'll talk about next Sunday with Jonathan Hutton. Thanks, my man. Jonathan Hutton, always good stuff on the Electric Power Company Sunday Sports Central. We'll have much more on Titans minicamp on the program tomorrow night here on News Channel 5+. But for right now, I want to bring up something else that's going on this week. That, of course, being the U.S. Open, going to be played at the Country Club just outside of Boston. And you've got all the guys that you'd normally expect there, including those guys who have now defected from the PGA Tour to go and play on the LIV Tour. So much to look at there. All the money for those guys. It's attracted an interesting field, and you just look at it over the weekend. Rory McIlroy won the event here in the U.S. He won the RBC, it was in Canada, the RBC Canadian Open on the PGA Tour. And he made $1.5 million, a little bit over that. The guy who finished third on the LIV Tour made $1.5 million. The winner made over $4.5 million. That's the type of money you are talking about. And that's what we're seeing right now. And guys are leaving because of it. And I don't know what the PGA ultimately can do, how long they can keep that stance. And I wanted to ask some of those questions. So we got our golf guy, Virgil Herring, to join the program and discuss what's going on. Because everybody's talking about it up there at the Country Club this week going into the U.S. Open. We bring in our golf guy, Virgil Herring, to try to sort through all of this drama. Virgil, the big money of the LIV Tour has certainly attracted some big-name stars already. What'd you make of their first event?
Well, I would say this. It looks like if you're interested in money, The Live Tour is going to have your advertisement fee. If you're looking for history, the PGA Tour is still going to be the case, right? I thought the TV coverage was poor. I thought the golf was average. I mean, there was like really 5 big names and then 43 guys that are either on their way out of fame or you never even heard of them before. And then they also had the U.S. Open champion, James Piot, there too. So it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But as of it's right now, it's a lot of money. A former Masters champion wins the first event. But it certainly looks like it's not quite the PGA Tour, but it's a threat for sure.
Well, the U.S. Open said this week the Live Golf participants will be able to play in the Open, but PGA Commissioner Jay Monahan today reiterated that they will not let guys that go to the Live Tour come back and play on the PGA Tour. Can they continue to hold that stance if more guys see those paychecks and want to go?
Well, I think until it comes out in court, because I guarantee you the PGA Tour players are going to sue for the right to play wherever they want to play. I think there's a precedent that's already happened in the world of golf in the past that makes it very difficult for the PGA Tour to win because they're private contractors. They're not being salaried employees. They're just private contractors. It looks bad, obviously, but at the end of the day, they're private contractors. They should be able to play for what they want. And I think that's what could be the interesting story is where we draw the line between the political piece and the financial piece. Because you can already see some of the big names, they aren't chasing history anymore. They're chasing the money.
So a lot's changed in a very short period of time here. But as you talk to people around the sport of golf, what do you think ultimately happens? Is there a partnership here? Does this divide the sport? What happens?
Well, I just saw a headline saying that the European Tour, the DP World Tour, is considering a partnership with Live. Now, that would shift the dynamic heavily because that could maybe make that more powerful than the PGA Tour. So we'll see. But right now, there's a lot of talk, and it's a very hot topic. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to history or money. And what are you in for? If you're in for the history of the game, until the rules change, you're going to be on the PGA Tour. If you're in for playing less golf,